One of the first chunks is about to hit.
It?
Only part of it. It's going in the ocean.
Would you look at that?
Wait, where's the explosion? We now are getting word that the fragment has hit Central Florida.
Oh my God.
Wait, are some more pieces gonna hit?
Come on, let's go.
But the sky's on fire.
2 days. They got it all wrong. There's a ton of fragments. Planet killers.
Space agencies are predicting an extinction level event.
The largest fragment will hit in less than 24 hours.
I swear, I'm gonna get my family into that bunker. I know you will, son.
If you are hearing this broadcast, seek shelter immediately.
What is it? What's going on?
If you are hearing this broadcast, seek shelter immediately. Seek shelter immediately.
Hang on, Nathan.
Seek shelter immediately. Seek shelter immediately.
The Cascadia fault is an earthquake waiting to happen. We know it's going to happen with an energy 30 times the maximum energy of the San Andreas fault. So Hollywood has us brainwashed into thinking the big one is going to be in California. No, the Cascadia fault would pack energy 30 times the energy that the San Andreas fault can muster.
The article speaks of a liquefaction of the earth, that part of the earth will turn to liquid.
That's right. We're talking about major energy surges inside the ground that'll cause it to liquefy. We've seen that in Japan. We saw that at Fukushima, and it's almost like quicksand. One day you're walking on solid ground, the next you're falling right into a quicksand.
This earthquake would last 4 minutes or more, the rattling and the shaking, and then within 15 minutes they estimate this wall of water. In the entire inundation zone, you could have water up to 100 feet high.
That's right. And in the inundation zone, we have 70,000 people that have almost no clue as to what could happen.
When the only constant in life is change, you need to be ready. This is the Man-Made Survival Show.
Hello everyone, my name is Jose Prado with Man-Made Survival. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel and watching this video. I greatly appreciate it because today we're going to be doing something different. And different in the way that I usually talk about man-made disasters or potential disasters, but this time I'm going to be talking about natural disasters, which is, that's why I always tell people, get prepared for any type of scenario, whether man-made or natural. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, because there's a lot of things going on around the country, and there's other things that could potentially happen in the future, which is waiting for the day for them to come. All right, so I encourage you to share this information with your friends and family. I want to remind you that we're trying to get to the 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so I encourage you to please share this with your friends and family and help us out by just clicking the subscribe button. All right, it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, but I do need your help in that aspect. All right, so things that we have been seeing in the country lately and really around the world is that a lot of natural disasters are starting to pretty much have an uptick, whether it's earthquakes, whether it's the fires that we're seeing in California, Oregon, and other places, whether it's the swarm of locusts that we have seen in South America and other parts around the world, which, Africa, China, and others have experienced. We have seen also the tsunamis in the past that have destroyed coastal lines, so that's always something that we have had, but it's always something that we're going to have. It's just part of life. But we must be prepared for those things, because if we don't prepare, then we're going to find ourselves like a lot of people have been finding themselves here lately in California, Oregon, and other places. All right. What I want to start with today is going to be pretty much showing what has been happening in California and other places, and as the intro of this video also shows, we're going to be talking about other things as well. So here's the first headline: skies turn blood red above Oregon in apocalyptic scenes from wildfire ravaged state. This from Daily Star. Here's that video.
Hi y'all, so this right here is downtown Staten. You can see the red hue, the red-orange glow in the sky. There's ash that is falling visibly in front of, you know, when we were driving here, in front of the headlights of the car. But downtown basically empty here, besides a few people, a few cars here, people walking around in cars. But the smell of smoke is heavy. At exit 13 off Highway 22 is where a roadblock is, so you can't go any further than that. But just wanted to show you what downtown Staten looks like right now at what, 12:22 in the afternoon.
All right, so the sky is really ominous, I guess. You know, that's the word that I was thinking. You know, it looks pretty creepy. It does look like the apocalypse has finally fallen on top of you, right? And a lot of people are saying that that might be the judgment of God because of all the sin that we have done, or, you know, the states. The funny thing is that the states that are burning right now, they are big states that are having a lot of controversy against what the Bible says on different issues like gay marriage, you know, the whole pedophile thing in California that just now came out recently in the past few weeks, and, you know, other things. You know, the church is being shut down by the governor of California in a very unfair way because, you know, casinos and other places can be open but churches cannot be. So that, you said, it's a God judgment? Probably. You know, I wouldn't get it out of the possibility that it might be. Is this a warning from God telling people to repent? You know, look around you, see what's going on. You need to repent. Possibly. Are people going to do it? Probably not. You know, because people do not believe in things until it actually is happening to them. All right. And there's a lot of things that we can get from people's reaction, people's behavior that actually points to that reality, that people do not care what's going on as long as it's not affecting them. All right. So the things that we're seeing in California and other places are very devastating. All those trees are just, you know, being wiped out. Some of it is man-made forest fires because, you know, as the memes have come out, they're saying that one of them was started because of a gender reveal, I guess fireworks or whatever it was. But the point is that somebody, you know, pretty much started a forest fire. Now all those acres have been burned and houses have been burned down and everything. But one of the things that we're seeing is that people are being forced to evacuate. All right. So that goes to show that you must have a bug out location. All right. And there's different ways that you can go about a bug out location, but there's realistic ways and there's unrealistic ways. All right. There's a lot of people who just do not want to leave. Doesn't matter what happens. We see that all the time when a hurricane goes through an area. All right, people just don't want to leave their stuff behind. They'll die with their stuff. There's other people who just simply don't have the means to get out. All right, or just have no idea where they would go. Luckily, the government is there to help. And I want to become an organization that helps people like that do not have the opportunity to leave. That's why I need your support. All right, but anyways, getting back on what I was saying. That's why it's important to have a bug out location. Now, the realistic way is that you go ahead and plan out to have a place to live that is, for one, in the woods, that it has at the very, very least 5 acres of land, all right, and that if at all possible, is going to be in a state that it has cheap taxes, is gun friendly, you know, they don't have crazy people running the government or, you know, the local government or whatever, that the police is respected in that area, that the police is not you know, just jerks driving around with a gun on their hip. There's different things that you can look into and do the research on, but also that it has to have the streams of river or creek or whatever coming through it year round. All right, so if you're gonna do a bug allocation, make sure that it has those qualities, that it has fertile land, that it has enough space for you, your family, your alliance, and your farm animals, that there's water coming through it all the time, whether it's creek, river, you know, aquifer or whatever the case may be. You have to make sure that is. And another thing is it has to be outside of the state that you live in. You know, people in California, they could have a place in different areas of the country. People in Oregon can have other places in the country. You know, that would be your bug out location. Now, there's people who don't have the means to just buy a plot of land somewhere else because, you know, they never thought about it. but they spend their money on a big house, on an expensive car, and they never thought about that they would have to leave their home because of a forest fire, right? The next thing that you can think of is family. Your family that lives in other states, in other cities, in whatever other place, now they have become your bug allocation, because they're going to be the very first ones that you can call up and say, hey, if anything happens, can I come to your house? They're telling us that we might have to leave. Can I stay in your house for a few days and see what happens? Those things like that is what you can do to prepare for that. Now, again, it goes to show that having your food and water ready in place is very important as a bug allocation. But, it's mainly in what is happening now to those people that are being forced to get out because the fire is coming through their neighborhood, is that they must have a second home, a bug allocation, whatever the case may be. All right. The next headline that I have for you is this, because it's really important for you to have information coming to you at all times and for you to actually keep up with the information, right? Here it is. I have two, and I have two headlines, and I'm gonna read the second one's article. All right. Hundreds of campers trapped by deadly fire saved in outrageously daring helicopter rescue. This from the organicprepper.com. The next one says, one hiker dies, at least 15 are trapped, and 35 are rescued as wildfires torch a record 2 million acres in California. Decimated town in Washington, burned through Utah and Colorado, and caused 100,000 to lose power in Oregon. This from the Daily Mail. Firefighters and National Guard used helicopters and night vision on a mission to rescue dozens of people stranded in the Sierra National Forest by the creek fire early Tuesday. Officials say 35 people have been airlifted to safety, and at least 15 remain trapped near Lake Edison. At least one casualty has been confirmed, and authorities warn there could be multiple more. An earlier rescue attempt on Monday night failed as helicopters were overwhelmed by smoke and flames. Wildfires are raging across California, with an estimated 25 separate blazes torching over 2 million acres. Evacuations are expected in Yosemite as the creek fire cast an eerie orange glow over the national park. On Sunday, it emerged that the El Dorado fire near San Bernardino was started by a gender reveal photo shoot. Washington, Utah, and Colorado also battling wildfires as parts of the West are carpeted in smoke. Oregon and Idaho have suffered power outages as high winds down cables increase fear of further fires. All right, so there you have it. It's important for you to keep up with the news. It's important for you to keep up with what's happening around you. All right, of course, we just had a holiday, right? We just had Labor Day and this past week, and people did what they normally do. They went to the lake. They went to the beach. In this case, they went camping, but they were trapped by the fire. All right, so that's why I say it's important for you to pay attention to what's going on. All right. You can actually map out, or by local news and everything, that all the information that's coming out by the firefighters and all that. You can actually track the way that the fire is coming. You can also use models of the jet stream on how the wind is pushing, because that's gonna feed more. The fire is gonna give it more oxygen and make it a lot hotter than it should be, or there would be without that extra oxygen. So the point is that these people could have had this information. These people had the information available to them. They just did not pay attention. Now, it's very unfortunate that some people die, and I'm very grateful that all these people were able to be rescued. As the Organic Preppers said, hundreds of campers trapped by deadly fire were saved. So that's why it's important, that's why it's important for us to be grateful that the United States have those type of services where you can call 911 and they can dispatch help, rescue teams and all those things. That's why I've always said America is a very blessed country. All right, we take some things for granted. All right, so now I'm going to shift gears because, even though everything that's going on in California and Oregon and other places is very devastating, it's not the only thing that we're going to be facing. All right, the next one that I'm going to be showing you, now it's a potential. All right, it has not happened yet, but we have been waiting for it to happen for a very long time. But first, I'm going to read this headline and I'm going to show you a video. All right, the headline reads, How to survive when disaster strikes. This from BBC in UK. Here's that video.
The primary emergencies that would happen in the greater Seattle area are earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Talking a 7.0, 8.0, a large earthquake that would make a lot of the normal on-grid, business as usual type stuff no longer be working. So we're talking no electricity, we're talking traffic stops, no one's able to drive, there might be debris on the roadway, you're gonna probably have to be on foot, and a lot of people are probably gonna be injured and seeking out help. My main goal for my emergency preparedness is to prepare myself and my family and take care of them. My name is Cliff, and I'm known as the Urban Prepper. Most people, when they think of the word prepper, they think of something like a doomsday prepper, someone that's very extreme, that has underground bunkers and things like that.
The day of doom is coming. Your blood will turn white. Your face will turn green. Your eyeballs will pop.
For me, once they get to know the type of prepping that I'm interested in, they see it as more of a practical thing. It's just a form of insurance for the unexpected that you hope you never have to use. I think when you look at it in that light, it becomes less of an extremist type view and more of just a practical thing that most people should want to do. So for me, there's urban preppers and there's rural preppers. Rural preppers are more concerned about things in the outdoors, like having fishing kits and making fires and things like that. An urban prepper is dealing with stuff in an urban environment where there's a lot more electricity, you're part of the grid there, and it's a certain set of supplies and a different set of skills that you would want to use in that type of environment. Phase 3, that's when you finally make it home after going through your long bug out route or evacuation route from the downtown area. So the first thing that I would do is first check on the safety of my wife and kids, and also on the integrity of the home. If the home looks like it's not structurally sound and it's not safe to be at, you probably want to do a short-term evacuation bug out to the driveway or to the backyard. So I have stuff for water purification and disinfecting. I have comms items. I have food items, includes MREs and other long-term food storage items. PPE for disinfecting wipes, for face masks, for hand sanitizer, items like that. Additional shelter items, clothing, first aid, cooking, fire. If the house was not structurally sound, I would set up this large 8-person tent to be a makeshift shelter outside of the home. At some point, someone might have to use the restroom, for example, too, and so I also have stuff for sanitation purposes. The best idea for preppers is to try to find other like-minded people that are experts in some things and have them combine as a group. It's better to be part of a community than it is to just be some individual in an emergency situation.
All right, so I wanna congratulate the urban prepper that he was featured in a BBC article, or the actual video and everything. That's a great accomplishment, and I'm very happy for him. I hope that other people see his stuff and he continues to grow even more than he already is. All right, so everything that they did on there is great, and the urban prepper, he's very informed, of course. And the BBC, they're gonna spin it however way they want to spin it, right? They're gonna show whatever they want to show. I did see the video of the urban prepper. We said that they had about 8 hours of video and they only did it to about 7-minute video. So of course it's a lot of information that's not going to be on there. There's going to be a lot of things that he probably shared that's not going to be on there. So it's important for us to also look beyond what the mainstream media is trying to tell us, right? Because they're not going to share the entire information. They're not going to really be 100% clear or transparent on everything that could actually happen. All right, so on that video, it talked about having an earthquake in Seattle, which is, kind of ironic because there's other things that can happen to Seattle too. Now, the urban prepper, he showed that, he would camp out outside of his house, but also what I'm going to be showing you in the next headline could force him to leave the area. And I'm hoping that he has a bug out location to go to, because if he doesn't, then even though he has the knowledge and everything that he knows, he's not going to have a second place to be able to call home and keep his family safe. As you saw, he has small children, so that's why it would be important for him and everybody in Seattle to be able to have a second location. All right, I mean, realistically, there's not everyone in Seattle is going to want to have or can have a second bug out location, but preppers in Seattle should. All right, the next headline says this. Seattle to be hit by a giant tsunami 2 hours and 20 minutes after the big one strikes the Cascadia subduction zone. This from the endoftheamericandream.com. All right, so first I'm going to be playing some videos, and then I'm going to get into what the article says, because the way that I piece it together, it goes really good together, or at least in my opinion does. So here's the videos.
Stunning article by Catherine Schulz in the New Yorker this week. And frankly, if I lived right now in the Pacific Northwest, I'd be considering moving. Seriously. The gist of it is this. The federal government estimates 13,000 Americans will die in a major earthquake and tsunami in the Pacific Northwest. It's not a question of whether, but when. This earthquake is coming, and it's overdue. Consider that the magnitude 9.0 earthquake in Japan just a few years ago, remember that, killed more than 15,000 people in the north of Japan and injured thousands of others. Seismologists say that the quake that will strike on our Pacific Northwest coastline should be even stronger, at up to a 9.2. They call such a quake a margin rupture quake, and it's every bit as bad as it sounds. Here's the reason for it. Our entire continent sits on the North American tectonic shelf, right? Plate, I should say. Off the coast of the Pacific Northwest, from the top of Washington State all the way down to northern California. This is it. And another plate called the Juan de Fuca is trying to slide up under North America, but it's stuck. We have an illustration over here in the big wall. Let me show you what this is. This is our continent here. This is the Cascadia Mountains. This is the Cascadia, what do they call it? The Cascadia what? Bridge. The Cascadia Bridge. I was actually asking him, but thank you. The North American plate here and the Juan de Fuca plate here. This one's sliding up under, and eventually this is going to go down, send a huge wall of water up. That wall will go all the way over to Japan, and the other will come onto our shore within 15 minutes. And when it slips, it will unleash not only a colossal earthquake, but also that tsunami, 700 miles long, and in some places up to a 100-foot high wall of water and whatever it's pushing, like houses and dump trucks and schools. Thousands and thousands will not escape. The New Yorker quotes a FEMA official who says, and I quote, "Our operating assumption is that everything west of Interstate 5 will be toast." Everything west of Interstate 5 is gone. That's Seattle, Tacoma, Portland and Olympia, Salem and Eugene, wiped out. Altogether about 7 million people. That's not including tourists. So think of summertime. The New Yorker reports that FEMA calculations indicate the disaster will damage or destroy about 1 million buildings, including 3,000 schools and 1/3 of all fire stations. And perhaps the worst part of all of this, these sorts of earthquakes happen at regular intervals in exactly this part of the world, have forever. On average, according to seismologists, about every 240 years. So when was the last one of these massive 9.2 or so earthquakes? Well, the last one was more than 300 years ago, the year 1700. It struck in the Pacific Northwest and sent a 600-foot wave of water all the way to Japan. So right now, on average, the Pacific Northwest is decades overdue for the really, really big one.
All right, so one of the things that I want to point out before I get into the article from the End of the American Dream is that the article that person pointed to at the beginning of the video, that was written in 2015. All right, so if he was sounding the alarm in those days about the big one in Cascadia, and it was already overdue, now we're here 5 years later. That can happen. So that's why I want to point that out, that all this information about Cascadia going off, it has been around for a while, and now a lot of people are not paying attention to it, and they do believe that it's going to be more than 13,000 people who are going to perish from this. Some people are estimating that over 1 million people, because now the coast is even more populated than it was 5 years ago. All right, so the article from the End of the American Dream goes on to say, if you think that you will just be able to hop onto your vehicle and escape the oncoming tsunami, you are just being delusional. The highways will instantly become crammed with countless others that have the exact same idea, and they will become death traps. Of course, if the earthquake happens in the middle of the night, most people will never have any idea that the tsunami is coming. From the moment the earthquake happens, it will be just 15 to 20 minutes before the initial wave starts hitting the outer coast. All right, so that is something very important that they point out in the article. All right, one, that it'll be a death trap. So if you live anywhere in the coast, I know it's beautiful. I know it's really nice. You know, the property is very valuable, but your life is on the line. And if something happens, you only have 15, 20 minutes for the first wave. And other places, you know, they're estimated in a couple hours, you know, depending on where you are. But the point is that it's going to be it's going to be a very big tsunami coming through your area. So that's why it's important for you to prepare now to have a bug out location again. All right, because if you live anywhere near the coast, your house is going to be completely destroyed. All right, so you have to prepare for that. And if you happen to stay alive, you know, because I don't know how big the tsunami wave might be. You know, some people estimate anywhere between 100 and 500 feet high. Some people are not going to survive out of that, of course. You know, like I said, people are estimating over 1 million people are going to die. But if you happen to be one of those that did survive, and now everything you own is underwater, you know, or it's just going somewhere else, then what are you going to do after that? Where are you going to go? That's why it's important for you to have a second location, to have a bug out bag, to have a bug out location, bug out vehicle, whatever. The point is that you need to get out of the area and live outside of the area if at all possible. All right, you know, if they said that in 2015 and people thought, gee, I should move out, people had 5 years to move out. And, you know, from that time to when it actually happens, they had all that time span to make it happen. So that's why it's important to be proactive in your preparedness. Not just gain the information, but act on it, on what you should do and what you're going to do afterwards. All right, so now I'm going to change things to a different scenario that we're waiting for that could potentially be devastating the day before the election. All right, here's the article. NASA and FEMA prepare for September 20 asteroid impact in California off coast. Documents reveal. This from IntelliHub.com. NASA and FEMA in 2017 devised and initiated a supposed fictitious scenario in which the two agencies would drill down on an asteroid that's set to impact the Earth in or just off the coast of California on September 20th, 2020. But is this so-called exercise really just a drill? NASA claims, quote, the simulation was designed to strengthen collaboration between the two agencies, which have administration's directions to lead the U.S. response, end quote. But could the drill actually go live like so many other drills have in the past? I.e. the July 7, 2007 London bombing, the September 11 attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon and others. Quote, it's not a matter of if, but when we will deal with such a situation, end quote. In the fictitious scenario, observers continued to track the asteroid for 3 months using ground-based telescopes observations, and the probability of impact climbed to 65%. Then the next observation had to wait until 4 months later due to the asteroid's position relative to the sun. Once observations could resume in May of 2017, the impact probability jumped to 100%. By November 2017, it was simulated that the predicted impact would occur somewhere in the narrow band across Southern California or just off the coast in the Pacific Ocean. All right, so it's really important that we pay attention to this because, of course, they're saying, right, that they will not, or that there will not be an impact. That the rock is only about 6.5 feet tall, which, you know, it's not very big. But it's funny that how small it is, they can actually track it, when in the past they have said that they cannot track them that small, but, you know, whatever. The point of it is that they're not going to tell us the truth. If there's going to be an actual asteroid hitting the Earth, they're not going to let us know, all right? This week just came out that President Donald Trump said that he downplayed the virus, you know, the coronavirus, on purpose because he didn't want panic in the streets. Now, let's just put the same principle on NASA. Let's say that they're not going to tell us that something is coming our way or this is going to hit us off the coast of California because they don't want to freak us out. They don't want people to, you know, just go nuts and have anarchy out there more than we're already seeing right now. But the point is that, yes, it is in the realms of possibilities because time after time in history of the United States, the government has been caught saying that they will not tell us when a big disaster is coming our way because they don't want panic in the streets, right? This happened, like I said, with Trump, and it also happened in Texas when the big hurricane was coming through a few years ago. So there's evidence that the government will not say anything, and that you must be informed and prepared for anything to happen, whether the government tells you about it or not. All right, the last headline I want to read, I'm going to leave you with this because it's really important. NASA plots 3 potential impacts of asteroids aimed at Earth before Election Day. This from Newsweek. All right, so let's say, all right, so now that I read you that headline, let's say that an asteroid will hit, a big one, a big asteroid will hit November 2nd, somewhere in the United States. Will the government call off the election? Does the government already know that this is going to happen? So they're preparing for there not to be an election, to call martial law, whatever the case may be, because, NASA and FEMA have been training for this type of scenario, which, I think is going to happen now, The point is that if they are ready for something like this, it could be very devastating for the country, in the way that if we have an impact off the coast, it's going to be a mega tsunami for the coast again. That impact could trigger Cascadia, or let's say that they actually miss the calculation and it's inland. What would happen to whatever city it hits? It would be like a nuclear bomb going off. We have heard that time after time, that if certain asteroids hit, it would be like 100 Hiroshima bombs or whatever. Now, the preparedness part for this would be that not only do you need a bug allocation, as pretty much the theme of today has been, but also that you have to prepare for a nuclear winter. That's the aftermath of all that ash and all those things in the atmosphere, going around, that it will make winter a lot worse than it's already supposed to going to be. All right, that we would have crop failure in whatever areas that are staying or would stay warm during the winter, where people can still grow, or farmers can still grow their food. They can be very devastating. So if you're anywhere near that area, of course, you would want to get out of there. But how big or how long of a warning would we get? We have no clue. Let's say they give you 24 hours to get out. Then that means that you would have to just get anything you can in your car and get out of there, because you and 100,000 other people are going to try to get out of the area as well. Probably even millions, because if this happens in Los Angeles or something like that, off the coast of California, as they mentioned, then it's going to be very populated. So have a plan to bug out, but not with car, but with, on foot. You can have a bicycle, you can have a motorbike, you can have one of those scooters. You can find different ways to get around, but you have to make sure that you can get you, your wife, and your children out of there. And not just that, maybe your mom, your dad, they could be elderly, your brother, your sister, their kids, your friends. You have to make sure that you have those plans in place right now, and you have thought about that happening right now. All right, that's why I encourage you to prepare, to think about all these things that I'm bringing to you, because if you have not thought about them in your preparedness plan, then what are you doing? Are you really prepared? Are you really committed to preparedness, as you would like people to think that you are? All right, so anyways, I'm going to leave you with that. Again, my name is Jose Prado, and remember, always ready.